let me use the FAMU concert choir. He let me prepare the choir, um, and then I submitted a tape. I was admitted there, and then so that was neat. About a year after that, Dr. Pearson died, and from there, um, Rod Eichenberger and Andre Thomas took me under their wing. Um, and I got through that program with Dr. Bowers and all the fabulous conductors that were there as a master student. From when I graduated from FSU, I had an opportunity to go to different places. I was offered the position to return to my alma mater, FAMU, to take over the collegiate program there, and I turned it down. And the reason why I turned it down because I didn't know how to teach. And for me, it doesn't matter how much talent you have if you don't have experience, and you have to kind of use your mind like, let me get some experience first. And so for me, it was one of those things that I need to find out if I knew how to teach, because I didn't even know if I knew how to teach. So so therefore I turned the position down. I then was offered my high school corps director, at Jones High School in Orlando, under the legendary, and she's passed, Edna Sampson Hoggart. And I was going to basically be her assistant for X amount of years. And then when she retired, then I was going to take over her high school program. Again, I was at the collegiate level, I don't know how to teach. At the high school level, it was more so, this is Miss Harder's program. And again, my mother was in the cafeteria. She was a cafeteria worker. So therefore, I would be known as Little Jeff there. So could have been successful at Jones? Absolutely. My former teachers were there. But I would be Little Jeff. And I need to learn how to become my own man, which I did not know how to do. Mm-hmm. From there, I had an opportunity to go to with West Orange High School. And when I went to West Orange High School, I walked into a room, and what I saw was Black kids on one side of the room, white kids on the other side of the room, Asian kids, every nationality. It was a melting pot, and no one was together. And I thought, interesting. So the first thing I did in my audition, I said, okay, everybody, can you mix up? Don't stand next to anybody that's the same color as you. And I just warmed them up. And right then I felt the resistance. But that's when I said, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. It was like, okay, this is because I don't know if I can teach, but I need to be in this environment to give. So what happened was I went through the audition process, and I went back to Tallahassee, and I told Dr. Thomas, and he said something to me. He said, Jeff, I know you can go to these different places to teach and be successful, but I want you to see where your gift lies, not only with African Americans, your gift lies with everyone. So you need to go to a place where you can inspire everyone. Mm-hmm. And so therefore I went to West Orange High School, and I guess the rest is history.
And what's so great about your story is, not that my story is similar to yours, but when I asked Dr. Thomas myself, studying, my last semester with him, I said, Doc, I don't know where to go. And he said, well, hands down, you're going to Cobb County. And that's been the best advice. I mean, like, I applied to other counties, but Cobb County is definitely where I was supposed to be. So I'm so grateful, and I know you are too, having Dr. Thomas in your corner to help guide you. So tell us, now that you're at West Orange, what is the most challenging part now of your career? You have all of these nationalities together and these kids, and so what's the...
I've gone through different seasons of issues, if that makes sense to you. Because I mean, oftentimes issues happen within seasons. First of all, research says it takes 3 to 5 years to build your own program. Research. Because first of all, you're following someone. So that in itself will tell you. Because you're going to follow someone that's either loved, hated, mixed, it doesn't, mixed emotions. It doesn't matter. There's a sense of loyalty to the past. So therefore, you have to respect that. Then you go through, let them buy into you. The thing that I learned is in my first year, I was that young hyper teacher, and now I'm just an older hyper teacher. But I also realized that my job is for small victories. I can't change the world in a day. How did I get small victories? I tell every teacher this: you must, first of all, figure out what has gone on in the program, number one. Number two, what is your administration like? Will you have the support? Because I don't care how talented you are, what you bring to the table, if you cannot fit in inside of that, you're only going to go so far. The other thing, what has been the tradition of the community that you are in? You must understand, you must be a servant leader. The kids don't serve you, you serve the kids. And any reward or accolade you get as a result of, that's a different thing. But the minute you put awards before kids, you lose every time. Because at the end of the day, you want your children to become lifelong lovers of music, not just, oh, this is my best singer. Another thing that you learn is that in this field, you got to be confident in yourself. There's a difference between being confident and cocky. The minute you graduate to being arrogant, you lose students. But you better be confident in your abilities, because you'll be tried, you'll be attacked, and no one is exempt. If you're gonna have good, there's gonna be some bad with it. But all of a sudden, if you graduate to the insecurity of arrogance, what you're telling everybody, you're just really insecure. And anybody can be a big fish in a small pond. It don't take a whole lot. So that was my first year of teaching, and I may have had maybe like 130 kids in my choir, and I lost 60. That was the first year. I was dealing with racism. I was called everything. I was threatened. I'm gonna drag you behind a truck. I was threatened by parents. I just wanted to do music. But I had to understand one thing. First of all, I'm not gonna adopt your issues. So I don't go grocery shopping inside your store. Those are your issues. You deal with it. I'll leave it alone. I'm gonna continue to serve and give, but stand up for myself. Because you have to. But I got so depressed that I remember driving to McDonald's and sitting down at McDonald's and going in and ordering. By that time, it was a number 3 quarter pounder with cheese. I don't know what the number is now. But I sat down and I cried, and I ate I was eating fries and hamburgers, crying. And I said, I hate this. I want to go. I want to return to college. I want to get my PhD, and I want to go teach college, because it ain't nothing like this in high school. And actually, it's almost the same thing. It's just 13th and 14th grade. But that's a whole nother story. So at the end of the day, what ended up happening was I called Dr. Thomas, and I said, I want to come. I'm done with this foolishness. These people are nasty. They're mean. I said, yeah, I went off. And I was just crying. And he said, Jeff, I'm going to tell you one thing. First of all, you're going to stay right where you are. You're not coming back. 2, you're going to build that program. 3, you're going to keep your expectation. You will learn that you will find people that will not meet your expectations. But if you stay consistent, you will find people that will surpass your expectation and continue to grow. And so I held to that. So from one year, I lost 60. The next year, I got 100 more. And then within 3 to 4 years, I had 400 kids in my core program.
Wow.
And because 1, consistency. 2, I had to deal with understanding. I had to bring my kids in and say, this is our program and not my program. And this is unity. We're not about racism. We're not about prejudice. My job is to create a motivating and inspiring environment in spite of. I also had to learn how to give in the midst of rejection. Everybody does not want to hear what you have to say. And you still must give. In spite of, not because of. So therefore, you get to have your own emotions. You get to cry. You get to feel sad. All this stuff. So when I say I had it all come at me, I had it all come at me. Everything.
Wow.
But I had, I went home, I cried, I picked myself back up, I said the next day. And then I realized small victories. Surround yourself with people that are going to support you. Get those students who's going to be a part of what you're about. And you got to let the rest go. Easier said than done because we're humans.
Correct.
People
So,
around, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Once again, my screen has frozen again, so I can't see really when you have stopped the dialogue.
I just thought you was angry about something. Go ahead.
And then it's that picture. All right, so what would you tell?
Okay, I behave. Go ahead.
What would you tell your first yourself now that you are well into the game? What would you go back and say, first yourself, you need to do such and such, or you should have?
The first thing I would tell my first year self, believe in what you've been given. 2, I would tell myself, forgive yourself. You're gonna make mistakes. You're perfectly imperfect. 3, make sure your heart's in the right place when you give. 4, if you do mess up, pick yourself up.
Got it.
5, small victories. You don't try to conquer the world. 6, don't try to be famous. It's not about being famous. It's about loving kids. 7, be thankful. 8, be a servant leader. 9, continue to serve. 10, forgive as you've been forgiven, and keep going. Off the top of my head, those are the top 10 things I think that I would tell my first year self. And 11, a rating does not define you. Stop allowing a rating to define you. I don't think. I get it. I respect it. I've lived it. And don't let a rating define you. I've got some stories about that, but don't let a rating define you. This is being recorded. Continue.
Well, a lot of us, we live by ratings. So why do you say that? The rating is what defined us. The rating is what says we did a great job at festival and at this competition. And so why do you say that?
When you are, for one thing, I would sit there and say this: you have to put everything in its proper perspective. If you're looking at, if you're looking at a rating as I need to get a pay raise, a rating to keep your job, that's one thing. Okay, because we got to do those things. But when you graduate to the point where a rating is going to say how great I am, and let me talk about that other choir, because that other choir, they didn't get the right rating. Let's first of all, that's crazy. Second, a rating is an opinion. Third, if you teach long enough for someone like you, they'll give you a superior anyway. Fourth, if they don't like you, they're going to give you a bad grade. So let's put it all in perspective now. If we really gonna do ratings, why don't we have a blind one? Send it off somewhere that no one knows and have a blind, you know what I'm saying? And have someone grade it blindly if we're gonna do it right. But the longer I've taught, the more that I've realized that a superior, literally on a rating scale, a superior is about this much. Everybody got their own concept of great tone. Everybody got their own concept of this and. But if you're not careful, that's why I never eat in the teacher's lounge for a reason. It's the same thing with choral conductors. Teacher's lounge. Did you realize that such and such got a 3 child? What? That's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Because guess what? No one is exempt. And if you teach long enough, you're gonna have something to happen to you that may not be fair. People see, hey, Jeff, you've done this, but they don't realize how long it took me to get to that. Nor do they realize how many I've been knocked down. I had one time someone said, and it was like, oh, because I got a 2 at my beginning choir, girls choir. First of all, ain't nothing wrong with no 2. Sorry, what's wrong with your life? Ain't nothing wrong with a 2. But at all. That says excellent. What's wrong with you, baby? So but something's wrong with that. But
yes, it is.
what happened was, what ended up happening was, oh, I know that, I don't know if this person, I don't know if Redding will ever learn from his, from his mistakes, because he came from FSU and what? And I sometimes you gotta suck it up and smile.
Mm.
And first of all, I'm working to love my kids. I want them to be the best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the kids only care about what you think.
Correct.
To be told.
Correct. So this, and I'm glad you're hitting on all these points. Some of the comments are coming in saying, preach, preach.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think, Jeff, that's how everybody wants. This is how we want to be taught to, because we do get so caught up in those ratings. But here is a question for you that's kind of trifold.
Wait,
so
before you said that, let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't understand, a lot of times they'll look at the West Orange program and they'll sit there and say, it's easy for him to say that. Sorry, my kids don't have voice lessons. Sorry, the highest salary is $25,000 a year. Sorry, we pull for real. My whole point about it is we have after school rehearsals because in life, once you realize what your deficiency is, you better be real with yourself and then do the work to match what you need. Because I tell my students, 2 times equals 4, regardless of when you found out that it was 4. It ain't gonna sit there and say, I'm sorry, boo-boo, it's 5 now because it took you too long. It doesn't work that way. So in other words, focus on the process of life, not the product. And once you do like that, the product takes care of itself if you focus on the process. So therefore, I ignored the naysayers and went to my room and worked on the process. And that's what people don't understand. I said, no, baby, this takes work. Consistent work. And work is this. Not just all this. Because you're not going to get, oh, I got 25 superiors. And if a superior defines who you are in the first place, there are some deeper issues that's going on that a therapist needs to really get involved. That's how I feel.
Good. Okay, so
don't call me because I'm gonna tell
it. What advice would you give? So I'm gonna ask this in 3 different ways. What advice would you give the first-year chorus teacher? What advice would you give the 10-year chorus teacher? And what advice would you give that veteran teacher who needs an extra push in keeping the fire burning in their program?
It's the exact same advice. There's no difference from the first to 10 of retired. There's about to retire. Let me tell you, the thing is, never forget when you first fell in love with music. Never forget when you first fell in love, before the augmented 6th chord, before the auditions, before all the rehearsals. I'm talking about when you're on the swing and you're singing love songs in elementary school or playing. Because at the end of the day, you must approach music with a childlike excitement and innocence. And when you do that, you will find a way to pick yourself up every time that you are beat down. Every time. Never forget when you first fell in love with it. I do that to this day. What I do after all these years, I will get in my car. First of all, if my kids got to sing at a big convention, I'm going to make sure that we're going to sing in a retirement home. First of all, because all people needs to be served. Keep it humble, keep it real. Remember when you first fell in love. The second thing is this right here. I would go and I would ride on, I would get in my car and I would go to the projects of where I grew up. And I would park my car and I would walk through the projects. And I would walk literally down memory lane of when I used to walk and just sing songs. Luther Vandross, Ready for the World, all them little things back in the day songs. Before I knew what do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do was and didn't really care about it. I would get on the swing at the playground and I would swing and remember and have and go back in my mind of when I first, and that inspired me. I was probably getting a spanking. That inspired me. Y'all better put y'all thing on mute. Y'all on blast. Anyway, that inspired me. And from there, that was a commercial break. From there, what happened was it would give me the energy to go into my rehearsal as a first year kid to keep going. My 10th year kid, when I think I know it all and I got 10 years up under my belt, no, baby, go back when it's your first time. Back to when you first fell in love, when was your first year. And the 30th year, whatever year is saying, I've got this is how it goes. No, baby, you reinvent yourself and get your butt back to the playground. You go back to love every time.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing you are from first year to 10 year to 30th year, you're just an older version of that child, but you are still that child. And if you lose the child, you lost music. And you become, remember, you had passion before you had technique. You learned technique when you got older. So don't forget passion just because you've learned technique. Because technique just gives clarity to your passion. It doesn't take away your passion. And as conductors, sometimes we just focus on the technique of singing and not the passion of singing. Realizing that you was taught passion first, way before you turned technique. That's what I would say.
Nuggets. Okay. So I'm sure in your tenure as a teacher, what were some things that your administration had to support you on? What were some things you asked your administration, like, this is a non-negotiable?
I mean, everything. No. No. What I would do is, for me, I've been fortunate enough to have six administrators, 6 principals, and they all had gave me various levels of support. And so I'm very blessed in that. I've been in a situation where by the time the 3rd and the 4th principal came along, the program was so built and the community was so behind it that if they did something crazy, the community would have went after them. So I was very, very blessed. My first year principal, Gary Pricer, brilliant. My arm Brewster after him, brilliant. I was a first year teacher, so I made first year teacher mistakes, late with the paperwork, wouldn't do this, so they got on me. So in terms of supporting me, the biggest thing that supported me was after 9/11, we were getting ready to go on tour. And when 9/11 happened, that canceled. But after 9/11, a couple of years after that, when OCPS was afraid to travel again, they supported me and said, no, they need to do this. And so I thought that was powerful. We went to, and then I remember I was going to the World Trade Center when, it was still that big crater, and we held hands and we sang unity around, and that was for 2 reasons. One, to remind me of where I've ever come from, which was FAMU, Dr. Gus Pearson, but also to forge ahead and say, Western High School, we are unity. We love people in spite of, we love ourselves, we love each other in spite of, because you ain't gonna like everybody all the time. So yeah.
So when you are, so there are some people who are not lucky enough to have those administrators that support them.
Right.
What do you say to those choir directors who are struggling with their administration, who don't understand choir, who just want to fill seats, who don't?
Oftentimes you have to keep your mouth shut and let your work speak. Oftentimes, because you know what, it's like this. If you work hard enough, you find out which parents really love and support, get that loyalty behind them. You start inviting other folks, like people from the county office, to come, and they start seeing stuff. Sometimes you gotta learn how to work around one. Sometimes education ain't gonna come with the face-to-face. Sometimes it's something but with a louder voice and a higher power to remove the people. Now, the other thing is, if that doesn't work, you also have to, and I get it, sometimes you have to stay because of family, job, and you can't have that stuff. You figure out exactly what you need to do to balance keeping them quiet by giving them what they need and feeding your soul, teaching you how to survive. You gotta learn how to balance it. And it's hard for everybody. And the other thing is, jump ship. I'm sorry, you never quit. Whatever, let me tell you something right now. If in fact, you're not allowing me to be the best version of myself for my kids, what you hired me to do, I'm literally not the one for you. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm really fine with it. I'm fine. There's places that I will not even apply for because I say, you're going to fire me. So why would I go there? I'm not going to put myself, because you're going to try to handcuff me when I just want to teach. I'm not talking about following rules that need to be followed, but I'm talking about the manipulation that sometimes happen.
Yes.
I ain't got time for that stuff. You insecure because something happened a long time ago with another course teacher. I just want to teach. I'm like, go on now. And I've had to say that a couple of times. I said, look, I don't know nothing about this, but I just really want to go to rehearsal. Now, I want to be thoughtful of what's going on and make sure you don't, step on somebody's toes and say, we're going to do it anyway. Forget the corona. We having a rehearsal. No, you can't do that, boo-boo. We call that fire and in jail. You got a problem. We're not talking about it. But at the end of the day, you got to be smart, but you got to learn how to balance it. You got to learn when to fight, when to be quiet, and when to leave.
Okay, so I want to pause just for a second to let our guests know that in a few minutes, we will be opening up the floor for you to ask your own questions of Dr. Redding. So if you want to start writing those down and then using the raise your hand button, we will allow you to ask him some questions. All right, so you spoke a little bit about juggling your schedule in that last little question. So how do you juggle your life as teacher and clinician? Because it seems like you're definitely in high demand. So how does that work with your kids and your family life and just being pulled?
Cancel Facebook so nobody won't know what you're doing. Other thing is, no, I'm just being silly. Craig, I see your face. It was no, and honestly, with everything is a balance, and I don't have a set plan. I literally go by year to year. What's needed in all facets of my life? How can I serve all facets of my life? And sometimes it's this, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's this. So I don't lock myself into one plan because plans change. And there are times I've been good at it, and there are times I've absolutely sucked at it. And it's you just have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I need to get better than this. I need to get better than that. And each gig, each trip, I try my best to not. There are certain gigs I don't take now. And so I'm blessed enough to get to a certain place. I say, but then there's some stuff I need to do that. And there's something I ain't doing nothing. I need to do it, but I'm not doing it because I got to do this for this area. I got to do that for that area of that. And so each gig, each situation deserves its own individual attention. You can start in the beginning of the year and say, I'm only going to take 3 gigs. And then you get your main 3 gigs. And all of a sudden you get this life-changing gig that you need to take. And then, but I've said 3 and that's all I'm doing. Okay. So therefore, I don't put myself in those situations. I just have to look at what's needed in the professional, personal life. How can you balance it? And then you just kind of keep going. If that makes sense to you.
Yes.
See, that's for me. I don't know how everyone else, someone else may take it differently. Everyone is different. That's what works for me.
Okay, so let's go to music. All right, so we've talked about all the ins and outs of the director yourself, but talk about music. Maybe you can talk about some of your favorite pieces that you've done. And I know that may be a hard list, but I am putting you on the spot, I guess, a little bit to tell us about some of the music you have enjoyed teaching, whether it was your beginning choir or your advanced choir, and tell us some things that you would have done differently.
My first year, we learned a piece by Tupac, and it was really powerful. I'm just lying, but look at y'all face. He go y'all face. Y'all is yes. What? Now let me think. I would say the piece the piece I've loved teaching this year is Flower into Kindness. Jig Ronstadt is a great piece, and and I paired it with a piece called My Companion, You Are My Companion, without break. And harmonically, it flows perfectly together. But just the message of the power of love and dealing with, and it's funny, you talk with it, you talk about love or anything of passion with high school kids, and you find that sometimes they're more open and vulnerable than adults. You see, and because as you become older, sometimes you become more jaded. You have more life experiences, and on and so on and so forth. And so it was neat to take a piece and work with my high school choir, and then go to my community choir and deal with the piece and talk about a certain piece, and then look at one girl in your choir and she's lost her husband, for whatever reason. Then it hits her different than it hits a kid who may have just gotten married, or a person, and then you start seeing shades or the person who's bitter and hurt and refuse to, doesn't make sense to you. So you see all this gamut of emotions to try to get a vulnerability and a transparency of heart to them, or just love. Because I'm convinced that when you get, and it can be of any piece of music, any piece of music, once you get their light and their heart to open up, the audience is transformed. Like that. And that's when you start listening to, oh, is it in tune? Is it blah, 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 blah? And you say, oh my goodness sake, my life has changed. Now, another thing that I got, I'll never forget, I took my high school choir to, this is a very powerful moment. And it didn't go well. And that's what made it so powerful, because I realized who the problem was. I took my choir to tour, on tour to New York City. And we did a performance at Riverside Church. And my concert choir, we sang, and this was back when O Monument Studium Lorton, everybody was doing it. And I remember us opening up with Judas Maccabeus' Sing Unto God, then going to O Monument Studium, and then ending with Hogan's Joshua Fit the Battle. Well, we could not sing O Monument Studium in tune to save your soul, my soul, or anybody's soul. That thing, I mean, I said, Lord, we depressed. It was a slow burn. So what happened was, I got 90 kids on the stage, and I'm conducting, and I'm getting mad. And you know how you look at your teacher like, what's wrong with y'all? And then all of a sudden, my student on the front row, he looked at me. He grabbed hands, because it was a mixed formation, grabbed hands to one kid, then grabbed hands to the other kid. Next thing you know, they started holding hands, and I didn't tell them. And what was so powerful is starting holding hands on the front row. How in the world on the front row you started, and then in the back you felt the energy, and I didn't tell them to. I literally put my hands down, and I started crying in the middle of them conducting. All of a sudden, they locked right back in tune. The phrasing started doing everything I taught them. The phrasing started doing this, up and down, and I sat there in amazement. At that point, and it was funny because the judges were the who's who, and it freaked me out. Gene Brooks was in the back balcony. Maurice Scones, and these people have passed away. Weston Noble, and someone else, and they were all the judges. The onstage clinician was Anton Armstrong and Andre Thomas. So I'm freaking out. They both came up to me, put their hand on each side of my shoulder, and said to me, so now, Jeff, have you figured out who the problem was? It was me. And I cried like a baby. And I'm about to cry now, because I still remember, I'm sorry. Because I realized that I didn't trust them. And I realized I was dealing with my own insecurity as a conductor and as a person, and I projected it to my students. So I was the problem. They just want to please me. And I just want to say, I just want to be good enough for you. And listen to the power of healthy communication instead of unhealthy communication, and just in your mind, you're trying to think what someone feels. Life-changing. So from that point on, there are times in my choir, I will stop conducting and walk off the stage because of that. Because let you know that I love you and that I'm trusting you, if that makes sense. I guess you left. Thank you so much for your time today. No, I'm joking.
So we have a lot of questions, and I guess I need to start asking them. And guys, I appreciate you being so patient with me and everything that's going on with this computer, because it's freezing up and then it's doing everything. So I'm going to turn it over to Kendrick and allow him to ask some of the questions that have been coming up until my computer loads all the questions in the chat room. So,
hey, listen, thank you so much for that story, man. That was good. The comments are coming in. So Juliet Brown put out here, what would you say to someone who struggles to recruit because of students having negative choral experience in elementary or middle school?
Sometimes you have to let them go, and sometimes you have to allow your product, meaning you have to get to a point to where your kids sing, and then you sing in the cafeteria, you do in-school concerts, you do stuff out in the hallway. You got to make yourself become more visible to them, because oftentimes people will not trust you by your word. They'll trust their friend if their friend loves it. That's why oftentimes kids are the best recruiters. The other thing is sometimes they need to, that happened, that has happened more than one time. I've had kids who come up to me and say, they didn't get in my choir until their sophomore year or their junior year. Well, we stayed away for 2 years, but we heard that it was really fun, but I hated my middle school. And sometimes kids take a couple of years to get through that situation. They need therapy, so they just have to go through what they need to go through. But oftentimes you can talk to a kid. I would say talk to them. If they say no, absolutely not a problem. But then you step back, you find out information, how it works, and then you sing in the cafeteria. You sing everywhere you think those kids may be. After a while, they'll sit there and say, I think I want to do this. And then if their friends in it, go get them. I've let my students oftentimes recruit, because they can be the better recruiter than you can oftentimes.
Okay, good stuff. Malcolm asked, what's your biggest tip to get men in the classroom?
Okay. Well, I can say some things, but I don't know if I can say it on Zoom.
Okay, be careful. I'm just kidding.
This is only from experience.
Okay.
I can't speak about anyone else. Do we want to deal with the reason why they don't want to be in chorus? That's the question. That's the better question. Because when anything in life, you have to figure out what their why is. Because if you can't figure out what the why is in anything, you'll repeat the same situation. So that's one thing. Number two, I would say this. What I've done, I've just tried to make the choral experience safe for everyone. I would say that. Safe for everyone, regardless of what your background is or what it is. And so what I did was this right here. I can just tell my story, and since I can tell my story, I'll tell it. Now for a girl, this would be different from what I'm about to say. For me, what I did was this right here. At West Orange High School, guys did not want to get in the chorus because they thought if you were gay if you were in the chorus. And so that was the whole thing right there. I would say it. And I was like, that's not true. Is everybody up in here? So what I did was I purposely went to the football team and I asked him, can I be one of the football coaches? Because I want to have the football team in there. So the coach said, oh, you can coach? Yep. So I went out there and I coached. And it was funny because the minute they thought I was chorus, oh, if you chorus, okay. No, but okay. So I went and I coached, and we got what we call the pit. And there was a linebacker on one side and I was on the other side. And they said go, and we locked, and I put them down on his neck. The goal was, I said, if I win, y'all gonna be in chorus. I got half a football team in chorus. Now, and all of a sudden, they looked around and sit there and say, wait a minute, chorus is for everybody. I said, exactly. So oftentimes my advice is you have to go into someone else's den first and see how they live so they can trust to come to yours. Well, how are you gonna do that if you didn't play football? You know what? Go to the football games. Go to whatever they're in. Show them that you support them. Oftentimes you have to be that support for them to come be a support for you. All my choir kids, I let them know, tell me what you're, tell me what your after school activity is. And I tell them you need to be in something else. Don't only be in chorus. I want you to be in stuff, other things, because I want you to grow your world. So the thing was, all of a sudden, I would go to volleyball. I don't play volleyball. I would go to baseball. I would go to this. I would go to underwater basket weaving. I don't know nothing about that, but I went to it because it was more so of showing my support for that person. That's how you start to recruit the guys. Now you got the other guys who will sit there and say, man, I want to be in there because of the women. Well, first of all, they don't want you because you need to pull your pants up. First of all, put on a belt, act like you brush your teeth, stop acting crazy, come in, be a young man, and then work. And then maybe they may look at you. Oh, you wrong, Red. You wrong, Red. No, I'm real. You ain't got to wonder with me. I'm going to tell you. In other words, you got to talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't if you act afraid of any kid, they're gonna smell it and run all over you.
Okay.
So I want to ask this question because this is something I think I struggle with even in my classroom. Heather Simpson said, what are some tips and tricks you've used to get kids to sing with more facial expression? She said it's always been a struggle. I know that's something I struggle with. The kids, parents will come up to me, oh my God, they sounded good, but their faces, so it always is something. What are some things you do to get your kids to sing a little bit different now?
There are no tips or tricks. One thing is I try to be real and honest and vulnerable with my kids. I just try to be me. I'm not gonna sit and watch me conduct. Watch this. Okay, kids, I really want you to show me a lot of excitement and then smile. Why y'all ain't smiling? That just gets on my nerves. Well, first of all, this is what I'm looking at. So I'm not gonna smile. So you gotta be real. Choir, just smile like me. Hey, there you go. And then you may have some people who are introvert, they'll be like this. And then afterwards I said, sweetie, that sound, I know you can do it. Just smile. And then, I don't know. And eventually, misery loves company. If misery don't have company, misery leaves. So at the end of the day, everybody around her gonna start smiling. And if she the only one ain't smiling, I just kind of slide them somewhere where they can't be seen. I said, because baby, we want people to leave happy. And then oftentimes I ignore them after a while. And then next thing they're like, did you see me smile? Did you smile? Yeah, I saw you smile after I ignored you. They're like, so you got to be real with them. But, but also you got to understand this. You don't know what a kid home life is. And you don't know where they come from. So you got to be real with them. I tell my students this right here, whatever issues you have, this is a safe place. Leave it at the door. Why? Because when you walk outside the door, it's going to be right there, ready for you to pick it up. At least come in here and smile. Give you some kind of strength to deal with it so you can live another day. So you got to be real with them and authentic.
Okay. A couple more questions here. Carla Henry. Oh, wait. Did Carla Henry answer that? Or maybe Carlos Santiago said, how do you introduce your choir to a new piece for the first time? What does that look like for you?
Say it again, please.
How do you introduce your choir to a new piece for the first time?
It depends. Let's look at this. If you're just learning sight reading, I always go to the most accessible pieces. If it's my beginning choirs, if it's an ABA form, I go to A. And I teach A. Because the thing about this, the more quickly you learn it, the more successful you have it, the more you have their attention. If you go to the hardest piece of a music, you're gonna lose them. This is too hard. My advanced choirs, I believe I am a strong believer in sight reading. We solfege everything. And I want them to solfege everything off the page. I do not care if you get all your solfege right, if that says a piano and you didn't give me a piano, or if it says Christian, you didn't read everything on the page. So once they get to that level, like in my advanced choirs, we will sight read everything from top. I won't do A and A. I go through the whole thing. Because at this point, they should be reading the whole thing. My beginning babies, most accessible. My advanced choirs, the whole thing. And we just do it again. I said, great job. Now let's go back and pick up some more notes. We just left some at the house. Now let's go pick up some more notes. So, and they go and they pick up some more stuff. They start laughing. They say, what? And so we do chromatic hand signs. We will solfege all day long. And then after I do solfege, I do IPA with them. Count numbers. So it's 3 things I got to do with them: solfege, IPA, count singing, every piece of music. So by the time I get to the music, then I don't have to worry about other stuff, and I can just really worry about that. And that's just how I do it. It's worked for me.
Okay. Here's another one. Where and when did you coin passion and purpose?
I don't know. It's been so many years. A lot of times things are, how things just kind of flip off your mouth. It was something that when I say I want passion and purpose. I want passion. I want your purpose to be to inspire and change lives. Marry them together. Passion and purpose. Sing to inspire, not to impress. Sing to inspire, not to impress. Because when you impress them, and what people don't realize is actually impression will come through your inspiration. They're impressed by being authentic, by being real, by being, all this stuff.
Okay. Another question that has come up is, when you have gone from a growing program to a dwindling program, do you still group ensembles according to ability?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, that being said, you also have to have flexibility to change. You can't get yourself locked in with anything. Your foundation will be grouping them in. When I returned to West Orange High School after I left West Virginia, the program was extremely small. I kept the talent was low, but I let them know, just because your talent is low, your expectation is still great. And you are beautiful, and we're gonna be the best version of ourselves. Oftentimes, the biggest problem with programs that you are fighting, when you've been there a long time, you're fighting history because you remember how you used to be. So at the end of the day, somebody thumb in the way. At the end of the day, I'm just picking everybody. At the end of the day, you're fighting history and memories. Expectation doesn't change because you got 200, 250. I have been through 4 school splits. 3. Let you know. Expectation never changed. I went back to West Orange. I got it back up to 300. Next thing you know, another school came 100. I lost 150 students the next year. Guess what? We still had to go to district festival. Guess what? We still had to go to state festival. Guess what? We were still trying to audition for ACDAs. Guess what? Olympia High School, Ocoee High School, Windermere High School. 3 high schools that took 100 plus students from my program every year. And I had to start over every year. I mean, every 3 to 4 years, I was starting over. I'm just tired now. Come on, And they're about to open up another high school, so they go in a year and a half, so they're gonna take some more students from. But at the end of the day, the expectation doesn't change. I don't sit there and tell my students, well, who we used to be this, that. Have I played old recordings? I said, that's your expectation, let's go. I don't care if we got 20 tenors or 3. A good tone is a great tone. My job is to pick the rep for you to be successful. Your job is to be successful. Let's roll. This is a relationship.
All right, Dr. Redden, we are down to 3 questions, okay? And then we will be ending. So one question came in is, who inspires you?
Oh, that's a hard question because it's not a who. My students inspire me. My mother inspired me. My biggest inspiration is my mama. Raising 4 boys by herself on food stamps, never allowed me to be a victim, always a victor. Always told me, baby, focus on the process of life, not the product of life. You just become the best version of yourself. My public school, I go to my public school teachers. Augustus, many people know me from the Florida State tree, and what a wonderful and great tree it's been. Absolutely, don't deny it. But where it first started, what people don't understand, is first of all, my high school choir director, Edna Sampson Harker Jr., because without Edna Sampson, I would have never known that I can go on a choir trip. My first person I met was Wendell Whalum when I was in 8th grade on a choir trip when we went to Morehouse College. He said, son, sit up. That was Edna Sampson Harker. They didn't realize Vernon Smith was there for a year at FAMU before he went down to Miami. And that was my first collegiate choir director. And the great, Augustus Pearson Jr., who beat my butt and the reason why I'm a choir conductor today. That man right there, because I was a student conductor at FAMU, and I was a student conductor at FAMU, and he had gotten sick. And he had said, Jeffrey, I need for you to take the choir to Tampa, because we were supposed to sing at FMEA. Myself, Charlie Toomer, and a couple of other guys, we got together. We separated the whole thing. And guess what? When I started conducting that choir, hey, that's when my life was changed, because I went to school to be a singer. When H.T. Burley, My Lord's Word of Morning, when they sang and I sang, and let me not be remiss, because I just saw his name, Mark Butler. Mark Butler, who's the director there, was the interim choir director. People don't realize that. Mark Butler was the stopgap between Vernon and Gus Pearson. We won a competition, the Negro Spiritual competition under Mark Butler. I don't forget those things. So yes, absolutely. Those folk, I've been blessed with incredible directors, all of them. But where it started was me being a rattler. And I'm always a rattler, So I'm a Seminole, I'm a rattler, I'm a Jones Tiger, I'm a Robert E. Lee Rebel, and I'm an Orange Center Elementary Cub. But I'm also a West Orange Warrior. Now I'm a UCF Knight. So, and then in between, Mountaineer, West Virginia. My whole point is they all inspired me. Mm-hmm. And you'd never forget where you come from.
Yes. Well, thanks for inspiring me, because I came in when all of that was happening.
Yep.
95, I was lost, and
I remember.
I couldn't get my friends, but it was you. It was you and Charlie. Y'all like the big brothers to me. So you and I've never expressed this to you, but like when you would come to rehearsal, it was like, okay, we making music today. Let me know my music today. I don't know it any other day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yes,
I miss it. And I look forward to one day getting back up to Tallahassee and seeing the wonderful work Mark Butler's doing now to keep on the tradition, to seeing, now, to go back to FSU and now see what, the wonderful Dr. Fenton is doing and Michael Hannawalt and that whole crew is doing now, and to keep in contact with Dr. Andre Thomas and just the incredible impact he had on my life. Rod Eichenberger, oh my goodness sake, just what that man has done for me. I'm a blessed soul. So just serve people.
Yeah.
Just serve. If I can tell you, serve.
What advice do you have for someone who lets their insecurities get in the way of teaching or building a really good program?
So talking to myself, because that's me. Go ahead on and cry. It's okay. Pick yourself back up. Don't believe the press. Don't believe you're as bad as they say you are, but don't you believe you're as good as they say you are also. You got to find a happy medium to where you can grow. Always be taught. Always be taught. You will never stop learning. But surround yourself with people who's going to give it to you. And yes, you can learn from the person who may be the jerk, but they don't have to be close to your heart. Take advice. Don't take everybody's advice. I don't take everybody's advice because I know that everybody don't have my interest at heart. You'll find out who they are. And then you just keep on growing. Baby steps, baby steps. And if you are ever let go from a position, maybe there's something else bigger waiting for you. I've been turned down for jobs and other things that people come back and say, oh, I wish I would have. And I said, no, I'm good. Because I ain't everybody's cup of tea. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. That's it. And serving my kids. That's all I can do. I can do nothing else. And I still want to learn because I still don't know a lot. I just know what my experience taught me. Does that mean that I know everything that's out there? There's a difference. I want to know what's out there also. That's just what has worked for me. That's all. I don't have all the answers.
Well, Jeff, before I ask this last question, it's kind of like hard to let this session go, but
That's fine.
We want to be respectful of everybody's time. So what is the one thing you want to leave us with today?
Why are we limited to one? You know, I can just say.
Well, no, you don't have. When I said, I was like, ooh, he's going to get me for saying one thing.
Yeah,
What are some things you want to leave us with today?
I don't know. My thing, unity. Take everybody, accept everyone. 2, build bridges, don't blow them up. 3, be the best version of yourself. Don't try to covet someone else's gift. It is okay to say, wow, there are a lot of directors who I think they are awesome, but I'm not trying to be them. Be you. Be the best version of yourself because you are special. You have something to offer. 4, be a servant heart, give back. 5, be confident in your ability. There's a difference between being confident and cocky. You cannot do this if you're not confident, but you also can't do it if you're cocky. You can't do it. I mean, and this is and I've seen a lot of it. I've been through it, be it grad school, undergrad school, in this well, I've seen it. And forgive yourself, you're not exempt. We all gonna make mistakes. And we all have been those people that we're talking about. Don't forget, each and every one of us has been that person that you've talked about. Let's just, all of us, try to be better versions of ourselves because we are stronger together than we are apart. And don't let your life get surrounded by a rating. Oh my goodness, for real? Be better. Yes, get the superior that you need at the exit to keep your job, but don't sit up there, but love your kids. The emotional health of your children is way more important. Because I've seen some kids walk out with great superiors, but they got to go to therapy because the teacher done beat them to death. So it's, hey, okay, I shut up because that's more than one thing. Oh, one more thing. I'm still learning. Sorry, I ain't got all the answers. That's just work for me. And they change. I'm like, if you watch NCIS and Gibbs, how he has those like number 1, number 2, number 3. Let me shut up. That ain't funny.
Well, Jeff, Dr. Jeff Redding, we appreciate you so much for taking our invitation to come and speak to the masses, the choral people. We appreciate you. No I'm so glad that our paths have crossed. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you are a FAMU graduate, a FSU veteran, all those in between. Thank you so much. This was definitely an inspiration for Kendrick and I to just step out on faith and reach out to people such as yourself to just talk. And so I think choral directors needed this, and we thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us.
You're more than welcome. One other thing, guys, you got to understand this, and I tell myself this all the time, and sometimes I'm not good at it. So I don't want you to look at me as I have arrived. I have not arrived. I'm not. I got so much to learn, and I got so far to go. And success can be a false indicator of security. If I can tell you, success is a false indicator, because at the end of the day, I saw that question. I have a Grammy. No. I hear you, Stephanie. Well, I'm saying that. A Grammy has not made me arrive. A Grammy just let me know that I have a long way to go from the standpoint of this. I'm fortunate and I'm thankful and I'm blessed, but if I did not have the people in my life, if I did not have the students that I've taught, it just inspires me to serve more. It doesn't define me, it empowers me to serve. So I don't get caught up with a award on a mantle. I respect it, but I understand what's behind it. And that's still serving. So when we fall down, pick yourself back up and realize that is just a snapshot of the book. That ain't the whole book, baby. Because a successful book has highs and lows. The misconception is that a good book has all highs. It's a lie. Because it makes you a testimony to someone else. You gotta have both.
All right, well, everyone, I hope that you have enjoyed your time with Jeff Redding, Dr. Jeff Redding. Once again, my name is Roxanne Mungeon, and I'm gonna turn it back over to Kendrick Kirkland, who is the king of King and I Productions.
Hey, Kendrick, there's a question that came on.
Okay.
By Esther, I just saw it.
By Esther, wait 1 second.
Esther
Do you have any thoughts on choral music in the age of social distance? We're not sure what our programs are going to look like when we return in the fall.
Okay, very quickly, I have been in meetings all week, well, all since the pandemic, and specifically for the last 3 weeks with, first of all, many art leaders who have community choirs. We're getting together, colleges and churches, and we're all trying to figure out how we're gonna do this social distancing. We're like everyone else. I would say within the next few weeks, or next week in a month, a lot of schools are gonna make decisions about how this is going to look for us. You know, there's a lot of research out there. Everyone got so afraid of the one video that was sent out, you know, just saying, and I think the whole went crazy, Spilly Core director, we just want to jump off a bridge. But remember, that is absolutely right, but that's only one research study. Take a breath, breathe. We don't know how it's gonna look. There are different models out there now that have been talked about. Some are maybe counseling for the whole fall. Some may say a hybrid situation. You know, some may say sectional stuff. Every school, everyone is doing something different. So there's nothing, I don't even know what UCF is gonna do. We're in conversations even now. What are we gonna do? How's it gonna look, how's it gonna look in the fall? So for right now, I know we're all nervous, but let's breathe. Let's just breathe. We don't know yet. So I'm just trying to tell you what has been told to me in the meetings that I've been in. And I'll be in more meetings tomorrow. But everybody's in the same boat and everybody's asking the same questions. And we're trying to get okay, how does virtual look? How does virtual rehearsals look now? And so we're gonna get back to a normal. How does it look? We don't know. But I know this is we're gonna have something, arts people. We're gonna have something. And at the end of the day, what you need to understand, our job is to create a motivating and inspiring environment, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's outside, or whether it's on Zoom. At the end of the day, baby, we still gotta create that environment, whatever that looks like. You still got control of your environment. You just ain't got control of the room. Let's make it happen.
Okay, well, thank you. Listen, thank you so much for everything. We appreciate it. I've gotten a couple private messages about if we're going to be doing this again. We plan to do what Dr. Redding just said, just kind of taking a break and breathing. We have the survey, so please fill that out so that we can email you directly, and then you can also catch the flyers in the different groups that we have. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you would if you can turn on your camera really quick, you should want to take a quick snapshot. Everybody waving. Just kind of wave for the camera. Awesome.
Hey, Stephanie.
Awesome stuff.
Hi, Sunshine.
What's up, Lulu? Craig, open up your camera. That's Craig. Craig always doing something. Come on, Craig, open it up. Craig.
So, everybody can say hello to Dr. Toomer.
Hey, Carlo.
So,
awesome.
So thank you so much.
Aaron.
Hope you all have a great summer and enjoy the rest of your week.
Get it, iPhone 6S. One of your things.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Bye.
I don't even know how to behave.
All right.
Jeff, thank you, everyone. Have a great
Right.
day.
Have a good
What
one.
up, Eras? What up?